our next guest is family. You know his expansive TV career, from throwing slime on Double Dare to talking about our favorite snacks on Unwrapped. Now his decades-long career can be seen right before your eyes in his off-Broadway show, The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers. Please welcome back to the show. We miss him, Marc Summers!
Yes. How's my Denver family doing?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? We're doing great. We're happy for you, bro.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's been a long struggle here. It's been a passion of mine for many, many years. Started working on it about 12 years ago, and here we are. It's crazy.
Well, this is super exciting. So your off-Broadway show has a format that's never been done before. So what can we expect, and how is it unique to your story?
What's unique is, and we've done some research, and we think we're right about this, that it is about the history of what it is I did to get from point A to point B. But unlike any other show, in the middle of our program, a game show breaks out. In fact, a couple of times it does. And we actually pick people out of the audience to relive some of the things they might have seen when they were growing up watching me on Nickelodeon.
How fun.
That is so cool. You know, I hope, Marc, you take a second to really acknowledge what you've done. This is a crowning achievement. I'm really happy for you.
Aw, ow.
I appreciate that. You know, the other day, there's a show on Broadway called Gutenberg where they have guest producers come in at the end, and they had Nathan Lane and Steve Martin and you know, big stars, and they asked me to do it. And my biggest fear was, when I walked on stage, are they going to say, who the heck is that guy? But luckily the reaction was good. So I guess if you've been on TV almost 40 years, people might recognize you.
Yeah,
You think? Yeah.
Let's get to the beginning of those 40 years, because you know, your show starts with an early obsession, much like our boss Bert Dubrow here, with magic and Johnny Carson. So how did that combination kickstart your career in entertainment?
I grew up in Indiana, and I wanted to be in show business, and I was obsessed with Johnny. He was doing a show called Who Do You Trust? I used to watch it when I came home from school, and found out that Johnny was a magician. And I figured, well, if it was good enough for Carson, it's good enough for me. So I started doing magic in Indianapolis and performing at, you know, birthday parties and weddings and dog shows and wakes and anything I could do. Talked myself on as a regular on a kids' TV show back in Indianapolis. Then I became a disc jockey, and I kind of followed Johnny's career. It took me a lot longer than it took Johnny, but eventually landing Double Dare when I was about 34 years old. And then it just kept growing from there.
Wow, look at that Double Dare moment.
I mean, everybody knows that.
Unbelievable.
Everybody
I know,
knows that.
I know.
And you're still going, Marc. I love it. So your show made it to Off-Broadway because of a chance encounter in Buffalo. I love these behind-the-scenes stories. What happened?
You know, people say, you know, how does this happen? And it was a freak accident. We had played a place in Pennsylvania earlier in the summer, and it didn't go particularly well, and I was going to cancel Buffalo. And they said, oh, just come and do it. And I said, I'll do a week, and if it doesn't work, I'm going home. Well, it was fantastic. It was the Alleyway Theater. These guys were fantastic. Unbeknownst to me, right next to us was the theater where the Mrs. Doubtfire tour was opening. And the director came one night, saw the show, and afterwards said, have you ever thought about doing this in New York? And I said, every day of my life. I just don't know anybody. And he said, you do now. He made some phone calls. The next thing I know, the Schubert organization is calling me. They connect me with the producer. And only 6 short weeks ago, we signed a deal to do this show off-Broadway.
Wow. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. His career, and then it came. Okay, so what part, leave me alone. They're already making fun of me, Marc. What part of your story, though, because you have accomplished so much, has made you the most emotional to tell on stage, or even just your anticipation of it?
That's a great question. You know, this whole thing was started because, you know, people watch people on a movie or a Broadway show or on TV and say, boy, they're the luckiest people in the world. What they don't realize is how hard people work to get from point A to point B.
Yep.
Yes.
And I was one step out of the business when I finally got Double Dare. That's a whole other story, and that is within the body of this show. But I got cancer. I was in a car accident where I broke every bone in my face. Ooh. And the focus is the fact that I get hired to do the messiest show on television, and I had something called obsessive compulsive disorder and had to overcome that. Wow. So the show has a base about talking about overcoming obstacles, and why do some people kind of escape and retreat and don't do it, and why do others pursue, and like all of you on that stage right now, and become successful.
That is beautiful. Beautiful. We
the
love
best.
you, Mark. You got to come back and visit us.
So happy
Thank you
for
for
you.
joining us.
Congrats,
DBL
man.
Nation, Mark's Off-Broadway show will begin its 16-week limited run on February 14th. A lucky day.
Yeah.
Erica's birthday.
Oh,
you can visit
all good vibes.
You can visit lifeandslimes.com for tickets. Thank you again, Mark.
Man,
Congratulations,
we
buddy.
happy for you, bro.
Thanks for everything. Good
Yeah.
seeing you guys.
Thank you, man.